Real Sports Talk Chicago here. This your boy Juice Man here with my man Dexter.
Hey, how's everybody doing today?
You know, our first topic today, we're going to talk about this whole Rip Hamilton to the Bulls. Dex, what do you think about this whole trade?
I think it's a perfect signing. It's a perfect pickup. 2 years, $10 million. He's consistently averaged between 14 and 18 points throughout his career, 17.7 for 9 years consistently. I think he's exactly what they need, a true veteran guard that can flat out, you can run a play for it. That baseline screen to hit the jumper.
Then my question, to you though, Dex, is Rip Hamilton enough for the Bulls to overtake Miami in the Eastern Conference right now?
Yeah, Jarek, he is. That's an easy question because if you look at how the Bulls are built, they're built on a team concept with a one great superstar and a bunch of very good players. If Carlos Boozer plays to his potential, which is 18-9, 18-10 a game in the playoffs, and Rip Hamilton's giving you 15 and making Dwayne Wade run around all day, remember, 2 of those games that we lost against Miami were very close games. Derrick Rose misses a jumper. The last game at home, the Bulls blew a lead. Now you're 3-3 going into a Game 7 at home.
But I understand what you're saying, but my thing is this, though. We had a whole situation. Where was Joakim Noah at during the playoffs?
Joakim Noah played solidly. Joakim Noah is not a guy that's going to average 16, 18 points. Joakim Noah is a guy who you want to dominate the boards, and that's what he does.
But he didn't do that versus Miami, though. If you remember now, the whole Miami series, Joakim Noah was lost. He was not there. Carlos Boozer, all he was doing is really settling for baseline jumpers. He wasn't really getting that many rebounds. We had no points coming out the paint. And remember, once Asik got hurt, it was over.
You have to also remember, this is a young team. Joakim Noah, this is the first time he had been past the first round. Tired legs, his conditioning wasn't well. He was hurt most of the year. Carlos Boozer was just the big disappointment. Now, this is year 2 of them being together. They should all develop a little bit more. You don't go from being a first-round team losing the playoffs, jumping straight into the finals. What the Bulls did last year was remarkable. They shouldn't even have been to the place where they were at.
That's my whole thing. If you want to look at it, did the Bulls overachieve last year?
To a point, of course. Of course they overachieved to a point. How couldn't they? They went from being a 45-win team to a 62-win team. But you also have to look at it. This team came in with a lot of strong goals. Derrick Rose said from day one, why can I not be the MVP? Think about it. He told you he was going to go win the MVP. And then he went and he did it. Now this year he's talking about winning a championship. Derrick Rose has always won. Everywhere he's been, he has won. From Simeon to Kansas to Chicago, he's a constant winner with other guys that are used to winning.
I agree with you.
Now, my question to you is this. What makes you so confident that Miami is going to keep this up? That might have been their best year, might have been their first year because they were coming so hard to prove everybody wrong.
But now here's my thing, though. It was not the wrong – it was the wrong timing for Miami for the first year because the whole thing with Miami, they didn't develop chemistry really into the playoffs. Now, you got to keep in mind now, Miami also didn't get Udonis Haslem now into the Bulls series because Udonis Haslem was hurt all year. And Mike Miller was still hurt in the beginning of the season. So Miami really didn't have their key bench pieces like they possibly can have now after this NBA strike because now look who they signed. They got Shane Battier now. Now, you got another defensive guy who can play the perimeter and who can shoot. I think really right now, if we look at the Eastern Conference, Miami is head and shoulders the best team in the East. I really don't even think the Bulls are the second best team in the East right now. I would argue to say the Knicks are the second best team in the East right now.
If you look at how champions are built, they're built with point guards and they're built with centers. Miami's biggest issue is they're trusting Eddie Curry, a guy who's played all of 10 games in 3 years. And can you name me their starting point guard right now?
I have no clue. I have no clue who the starting point guard is right now.
What was their biggest issue in the playoffs once they got to the finals or once they were in a difficult playoff game?
It was 2 things. Actually, want to think about it. It was point guard number 1 because nobody could handle the rock. But you also got to look at it now. What happened to LeBron James in the fourth quarter in the finals?
So that's my exact point. The guy you trusted to hold the ball is your best player, essentially on that team is LeBron. Am I wrong?
I would say no. I would say the hands down best player on the Heat is Dwayne Wade. You can look at the playoffs, every game in the playoffs last year. Dwayne Wade led the Heat in scoring. Dwayne Wade was that clutch guy for the Heat. Now the only problem was Dwayne Wade did not have help from LeBron because LeBron went MIA in the fourth quarter in the finals.
Yeah, 5 points in 4 quarters.
Well, Chris Bosh
exactly,
and well, Chris Bosh was still doing this thing. Like my thing with the Bulls is now, when you have Boozer going against Bosh, that's Bosh all day, because Boozer just struggles against taller power forwards. Boozer doesn't really have that inside game to take advantage.
The funny part of what you say there is, what he has done throughout his career is be a big man in a little big man's body. What I saw with the Bulls last year was a team that did not know how to play together when they were all healthy at once. Remember, Boozer walked into the season with a broken wrist. Then Joakim Noah gets hurt in February. They never played together, and they won 62 games.
I agree, but here's my thing though with the whole Boozer thing. I don't even agree. Last year, why did the Bulls even picked up Boozer? Because we have a better power forward right now that's on the bench, Taj Gibson.
No, Taj Gibson's hustle and heart. That's hustle and heart, but he's not a better player.
Taj Gibson is better.
Hustle and heart. Carlos Boozer's had a very good career. He's been an all-star before. Now he had a terrible postseason, and I call him every day the big man made out of glass Boozer. You've heard me say that over and over again.
I agree.
But he has the talent. The talent is there. The problem is with the Bulls is that's their first rip. That's their first real take at it. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, it was Miami's first turn too. Miami has 2 superstars and a legitimate all-star. They have more talent when they walk in at one time on the floor than any other team in the NBA.
I agree with you, but you also got to remember with the whole NBA, though, what wins championships? Is it individual superstars or is it an actual team?
Stars win titles. Teams win. In theory, you need the team to work as one big unit. But when you go through the history of the league, the team with the best stars playing their best, that's who wins. But
I would say it's still, you can argue, though, it's the teams, though. Because now let's go back when the Lakers had won previously. They had Bynum, they had Gasol, they had Artest, they had Kobe, they had Derek Fisher. Now let's look at their bench now, too. They still had Lamar Odom off the bench. They had Jordan Farmar still off the bench. They still had Shannon Brown off the bench. I mean, you still need...
They had a solid team, but I have one question for you. Is Paul Gasol in Hall of Famer right now? Paul Gasol retires tomorrow. Does he go to the Hall of Fame?
No.
With the career he's had?
No.
With everything he's done? He's a European champion. He's an NBA champion. He's been an All-Star 6 or 7 times with 2 different teams.
No, because I would say no only for the fact of the reason is that would be like me comparing Paul Gasol and Dirk Nowitzki. Now, before Dirk won the championship the past year, was Dirk Nowitzki a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, clearly. He was clearly a Hall of Famer. He had already been to the finals, and he had already been an MVP. This is the question. The question is there's a lot of great players that make the Hall of Fame, like Dominique Wilkins, who didn't win anything, George Gervin, who didn't win anything. The issue is, what other Hall of Famer did Dominique Wilkins play with in his prime?
I agree.
What other Hall of Famer did George Gervin play with in his prime? You look at Paul Gasol's prime, those 4 years in L.A. They went to the finals 3 times and won 2 titles. Kobe won championships with Shaq in Shaq's prime, and Kobe was entering his prime. You need 2 legitimate heavyweight stars.
But here's my point. Like, I agree with what you're saying with the whole Gasol. Maybe Gasol does deserve it, but I would actually put Andrew Bynum over Gasol if I had to, as far as importance for the Lakers, because Kobe needed that guy in the middle, because you're always stressing point guards and centers win NBA championships. They needed Bynum.
That's true. Andrew Bynum was a big reason, a very big reason, when he's healthy.
Exactly.
Well, the thing is, what Gasol gives you is an instant 2. He opens the game like a Dirk Nowitzki opens a game, like these European big men open a game, like other guys that here don't do it. I'll put it to you like this. If you put Paul Gasol's skill in Blake Griffin's body, you have the perfect power